Welcome to Echoes from the Basement, an X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Alice, and each week I revisit a classic episode of the X-Files while sharing my take on the strange and mysterious adventures of Agent Scully and Mulder. And who knows, I might even make a believer out of you. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? Sorry I've been absent for so long. I took 1 week off to go to a music festival where I saw some really great bands like My Chemical Romance for the second time. It was amazing. I then came back from my trip and got extremely sick, which was awful. We're not sure. My husband and I both got it. We're not sure where it had came from, but we were just both down bad and I couldn't get some more episodes out. Sorry about that. But from now on, we should be on a nice smooth track, and we're now at the start of spooky season. Let's get into the episode. It is Darkness Falls, episode 20. It begins with a cloudy, foggy forest called Olympic Northwest Forest, located in Washington State. A man is talking to another man named Perkins. We see a group of men are located in the center of the forest, and they're arguing about when they should leave. Why didn't they leave earlier? Nobody knew about this. Whatever they're talking about. They all point their fingers to this man, Perkins. It's his fault that they didn't leave earlier. It's his fault that they're in this mess in the forest and they can't leave. Well, the men decide somebody needs to go for help, of course. The men all continue to argue about who's going to stay in the forest, who's going to go for help, whether it's going to be risky or not, what consequences are there for leaving. All of the men agree that they're going to split up and find help besides one person. The man who does disagree say it's just going to be a death sentence. So, what are these men going to do? Are they going to split up? Are they going to be killed? Are they going to stay put in the forest? What would you do? The men finally come to the conclusion that they're all going to go their separate ways and run for their lives. They canvass through the whole forest, desperately trying to search for a way out. Men are running in all different directions, panicking, just hoping to make it out alive. The sun is now starting to set. Darkness falls across the forest, and one man is running and he trips. He becomes injured. His friend tries to help him up, pleading with the man like, you have to get up. Come on, get up. The injured friend says, I just can't. He maybe had twisted his ankle, which makes him incapacitated. The other man picks him up and says, we're going to do this. And they continue to walk together. A strange sound comes from beyond a group of trees. It sounds like some sort of humming. The men scream as they are surrounded by little green specks in the sky. We're at FBI HQ, and Mulder is presenting Scully a photo of the men that were in the forest on a slideshow. He says that these men were 30 loggers working on a contract. The agents are looking for something strange or unexplained in the photo, their usual. Mulder goes on to state that the men have vanished. He pulls up the next slide. It's of Doug Spinney and Stephen Tagog. They were environmental protesters. But how are they linked to the disappearance of the loggers? They say that these two individuals went on a spree to sabotage the lumberjacks and their lumber contract. Then, the next week, all these people are out here, the two men and the group of loggers. There's radio silence. Nobody is contacting anybody. There's no chatter over the radio, nothing. So now an investigation led by the Federal Forest Service starts. They look into the missing loggers more and more, and the two environmentalists can't find anything, and now it's been 2 weeks, and the two agents that were sent out there have never been heard from again. The FSS, the Federal Forest Service, that's how I'm gonna say their name from now, has accused Spinney and Tagog of sabotaging or hurting the lumberjacks, and they have asked the FBI to investigate. Scully asks, well, what does this have to do with us, Mulder? Oh, terrorism is not really like our strong suit. He replies, well, back in 1934, another group of men in the same forest disappeared. What a coincidence. Scully decides that she's interested enough in the case that she's going to join Mulder on his trip to the forest. The two agents drive there and meet with a local officer. The two agents introduce themselves as always, and the man introduces himself as Larry Moore, Federal Forest Service agent. They make some conversation regarding their adventure into the forest. Mulder notices in Moore's windshield a bullet has left a mark. It's all cracked. "Who do you think shot you?" Mulder asks. "Perhaps some eco-terrorist," replies the FFS agent. Moore goes on to talk about how he does also care for the environment, but just doesn't like how the environmental protesters go about trying to save it. Scully asks, "Well, do you think that those protesters would kill a man?" Well, Monroe states, "Something happened to those men." Another man enters the group chat. He puts his gear into Moreau's truck. His name is Steve Humphrey, head of security for the lumber corporation that was doing the work in this forest. Everyone piles into the truck, and the group makes their way to the campsite where the lumberjacks were staying. Scully asks, "Well, why did these men work so far up the mountain?" Humphrey states that the environmentalists made the land untouchable. "We have to take as much lumber as we can get." Mulder follows up with, "Why would the eco-terrorists target you?" Boom. The truck hits a flat tire. Moreau pulls the truck over and points to a homemade spikes in the middle of the road that has made his tire unrepairable. Humphrey says, "Yeah, these eco-terrorists put these spikes here all the time to deter us." Humphrey clearly has some sort of beef with these environmental protesters, eco-terrorists, whatever you want to call them. I think because they cut into his revenue, if you know what I'm saying. He just feels like they are an inconvenience in his day. Now, without the truck, the team must hike up to the camp. Moreau takes his backpack, he starts walking, and he says, "Let's move it or lose it." After walking miles, the group reaches the campsite. They kind of look around. It's a little bit too quiet, as if everyone just decided to leave one day and leave everything behind. Moreau calls for anyone, but no one replies. The two agents enter a cabin. They see a full uneaten meal laid out on a table. That's really strange. Why would somebody just abandon their meal mid-eating? They keep checking. It seems as if somebody deliberately sabotaged this camp and took everyone out. There's no radio communication because somebody has smashed the radio. The tires on every vehicle are flat, and Moreau found rice in the truck's radiator. The group has an hour and a half to continue their search. That's when the sun goes down. Scully, Mulder, and Moreau hike some more. They find something strange in the forest, a large cocoon on a tree. They creep forward and investigate. Mulder and Moreau pull Scully up so she can examine the cocoon. She tries to cut it down when she notices a hand and some fingers sticking out of it. The group manages to bring the cocoon down and open it up. Moreau tears through the spiderweb material with a knife, and the group peels back the layers and sees a mummified body. They're all in disbelief. How could this ever happen? Scully states that the body seems dry and hard, as if all the fluids have been drained from it. The group wonders how an insect or spider could have gotten a full-grown man up into a tree. That's the theory. Some sort of insect just brought this man and cocooned him. Back at camp, Humphrey is tinkering with a blown generator. He's doing some Dead by Daylight stuff. He hears a door open. Slowly, the man grabs his rifle. He searches the camp. Nothing. He walks around some more, hears a clanking noise coming from one of the cabins. Humphrey enters only to find a man stealing food. It's Doug Spinney. The two men go back and forth. "I should shoot you," Humphrey says. "You should do that to yourself," Doug replies. Humphrey asks the man what happened to the other men. Doug asks, "What men?" Mind you, Humphrey's gun is still pointed at Doug this whole time. Doug says he just doesn't know what happened to those men, but he does know that something is out there. We will probably also meet the same fate soon when the sun goes down, Doug says. Mulder enters and Humphrey introduces Doug to him. He's an environmentalist or an eco-terrorist, whatever you want to say. Doug says, "We have to move. You need to get to the generator. Darkness is our enemy." The rest of the group is confused. "What do you mean?" Moreau and Doug fill up the generator with gas. "Why did you say that darkness was our enemy?" Doug replies, "That's when they come. I don't know what they are, but they just come at night. They take men from the sky and they devour them alive. I saw it happen. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Humphrey doesn't seem like he is buying the story Doug has told the group. Moreau, Scully, and Mulder all look at each other like, yeah, we believe him because we saw this weird cocoon in the forest with a devoured man in it. Doug explains the story a little more. His group of originally 4 members came from 2 valleys over. Now it's just Doug. Doug doesn't want to travel at night because of what happened to his friends. He watched his friends get devoured alive. Doug says they were just camping. And then it happened. Humphrey says, I think that's some BS and you're just some sort of terrorist trying to sabotage our project. Doug turns to the lumber security man and says, you know what, I might have committed some crimes, but at least I'm not committing crimes against the environment. I'm trying to save it. The two go back and forth about how the logging company is taking unmarked trees. Trees they have no business taking. Humphrey goes silent. I know nothing about that, nor do I care, he says. I'm leaving. Doug warns Humphrey, don't go out there. The creature is out there. Humphrey says, no way, I don't believe your story. I'm not going to be eaten. Moreau pleads and begs, please don't leave. We don't know if it's out there. But Humphrey leaves anyway because that's just what he wants to do. He walks out of the cabin. Humphrey tantalizes fate a little bit, being like, come on, attack me. I thought you were going to devour me. We see that the bug catcher keeps going off like a psst. Then we see billions of dots behind a tree that is in front of Humphrey. The man walks back into the cabin, satisfied that nothing would hurt him and that Doug has just made this whole story up. But Scully and Mulder do buy into the story. They believe Doug. I mean, if you see a cocoon in the forest, I would definitely believe that guy. The next day, the group hikes some more. They find a huge tree. Doug says, your men cut one of the oldest trees in the forest down. Well, who marks the trees? It's Federal Forest Service. The team examines the tree some more, saying how it must be 100 years old according to the rings on the stump. Doug and Humphrey argue some more about who is to blame. Mulder finds a weird ring in the tree stump. Moreau is confused. He says, I've never seen anything like this yellow ring in the stump. Moreau takes a sample of this yellow ring for further investigation. He's never seen anything like that. Humphrey is starting to become impatient and he wants to know what happened to his men. He makes this whole big show saying that they should be questioning Doug, not looking at a tree stump. Doug is a murderer. He's the one to blame. I mean, we don't know that for sure. Maybe he is, maybe he didn't. Who is responsible for the missing men? Humphrey decides justice is taking too long. He's gonna go hike down to the truck and radio for more help. The rest of the group decide to head back to camp. Moreau examines the sample that he found on the tree stump. He sees that something is living in this yellow ring. It's a tiny bug, but something isn't right. The bug would be attacking the living part of the tree, like the leaves and the roots, not necessarily the stump. How did the bugs get so deep within the tree? Mulder asks, could they have been living in the tree for hundreds of years? The FFS agent says, I don't know, could be possible, could be impossible, I'm not too sure. Scully infers that when Moreau took this sample, he reached into a larger nest. So the yellow ring is part of like a huge nest and he kind of scooped out some bugs. Doug interrupts and says, could they build a cocoon? Right after that tree was cut down, my partner died. This is Doug speaking, and the loggers disappeared too. You think that the mites killed those people? Asked Scully. Doug's theory is that the mites were dormant in the tree for hundreds of years. The loggers woke them up when they cut down the tree, and the bugs woke up a little bit hungry. We see that Humphrey travels alone down the mountain where he finds Moreau's truck, and he gets in. Thunder rattles, the sky grows dark, and Humphrey tries to get the car started, but no luck. He checks the engine when he starts to hear some humming approach him. Humphrey looks around, confused. What was that sound, he thinks? Okay, come on out now. Nothing, just darkness. The humming gets louder and closer, and insects start shooting from the sky. They honestly look like little stars or like little fireflies. Humphrey tries to run, hide in the car, thinking that it was safe. But the car gets swarmed and gets stuck in the mud. The creatures surround Humphrey in the car. They get in through the AC vents. They tackle him. He yells and jerks, but it's no match for the powerful bugs. Now back at camp, the generator is running out of gas. Scully is examining the bugs. They have stopped moving. It's the light, Doug says. They don't like the light, which is the exact opposite of bugs. Usually they go towards the light instead of away. Mulder swipes his hand over a counter space to find a weird black liquid on his fingertips. He then asks, Scully, what do you know about bugs? She says not a lot. All I've known is that they've been around for a very long time. Mulder's theory is that during the tree's life, an abnormal event happened causing this strange yellow ring within the tree. He infers that it was a volcanic eruption. He says all these mountains were a chain of volcanoes at one point, and some are still active. He believes that the volcanic activity that was in the forest had leftover radiation. The bugs came from the volcanic activity and then deposited into the ring of the tree through the tree's roots. So basically, the bugs came in contact with the radioactivity, went through the roots of the tree, and kind of laid dormant in the rings of it on the inside. He thinks that they are ancient insect eggs. I believe Mulder. He seems like he's very smart. The bugs remain dormant until the loggers cut the tree down and basically release them. Doug says how ironic that the loggers chopped down the tree only for it to kill them and maybe us. Morel thinks that Humphrey, who hasn't come back yet, is still alive and is getting help at the moment. Morning rises, which means another day in the forest. Doug carefully slips out of the cabin and takes the gasoline with him to fill the truck from earlier. Mulder pulls his weapon out and surprises Doug. Going somewhere? Doug panics. We're just preparing the truck. Seems like you plan on leaving us, Doug, Mulder says. I have to see my friends. Why are you sneaking around then? Because of Moreau, he would never trust me. I trust you, Mulder says. Come on, man. I could save us, Doug replies. I just have to get to my Jeep. Just trust me. Mulder decides that he's gonna trust Doug and sends him off with the gas can. The sun slowly starts to descend. Mulder gets the radio working again when Scully enters the cabin. Mulder sends a call for help on the radio, but nothing. The lights start to slowly flicker and they go in and out. The two agents run outside to see that the generator is being turned off by Marone. What happened to the gas can? The FFS agent says. Doug took it. Moreau is like, are you serious? You're kidding me. He's gone? Mulder, you let him have the gas can? He left earlier and will be back soon. Moreau doesn't believe this. The two men go back and forth. Miller says that Doug is our only way out, while Moreau says, are you serious? We cannot trust him. There's a problem. Doug left with the last gas tank. Great job, Mulder. Moreau says we can't waste any more gas. We basically have to shut off everything. Mulder knew he kind of messed up. He enters the cabin with his face in his hands. I shouldn't have let him go. Let's just move past this. Okay, Scully says angrily. What should we do now? Well, think of something. We all know what happened to those loggers, and in 1934, Mulder, they only found one cocoon. Scully shoots back. It's a very big forest. Look, Scully, what would you have done if you were me? Well, Mulder, I'm sure I wouldn't have made a decision that would affect the group by myself. The two continue to fight back and forth about how essentially they're going to die. What are we going to do? Scully asks. Mulder replies, anything we have to keep the bugs out of here. Mulder boards every window. The generator continues to keep the lights on, but for how long? Minutes, seconds, hours? The group wonders. I can see them, Scully whispers. Look at this. The group heads over. They can see bugs hovering in a shadow of darkness in the room. They're on me. Scully jerks back and forth. You see them? Can you see them? Get them off me. They're everywhere, Mulder says. I think the thick black liquid over everything is them. The light keeps them from swarming us. Only a tiny bit of fuel is left in the generator. Scully and Mulder try to keep their composure as they may be facing the end. The lights flicker and start to dim. What if the generator stops and they swarm us? Asks Scully. We have an hour and a half until sunrise, Mulder replies. And then what? We won't make it. Hopefully, help is on the way, Mulder replies. I'm not giving up on Doug. He gave me his words, which is a lot of trust in a stranger you just met. Two agents kind of stare into each other's eyes, worrying about one another. The generator starts to sputter, the lights go out, and the end is near. Seconds later, the group is saved by the sunrise. The group quickly walks to the truck. Mulder takes one of the tires off. They're going to put it on Moreau's truck that originally had a flat tire. The clouds start to rumble. The group makes it back to the agent's car, where they find Humphrey cocooned and dead inside. his face stuck in a bizarre look while he is peering out the window. The group hears a car approach them. It's a Jeep. Doug has come back. Come on, Doug says. The group gets into the car. They speed down the mountain. Night falls. The homemade spikes stop the Jeep from going any further, which is a ironic twist of fate. A swarm of bugs unleashes on Doug. He tries to swat them away, but no use. He runs into the forest. The group looks on as maybe Doug gets eaten alive. Then the insects swarm the inside of the car where the rest of the group is. They try to swat the bugs away, but they're outnumbered. More and more bugs enter the car. They start to kind of cocoon, all three of them. We see that a helicopter and white vans arrive to rescue the team the next day. Men in hazmat suits get out and surround the Jeep. Everyone inside is just covered in spider webs. The group is then taken to a high contaminant facility to quarantine within Washington. Scully, Mulder, and Moreau are alive but injured. And that's the episode. I thought it was really great. I'm not sure what I would do if ancient insects were hunting me in the forest. I'm not sure if I would have been cleverer enough as the three of them. But my question is for you. Would you have given Doug the gas tank? We all know how it ends, but what if you didn't? Would you have made a choice on behalf of the group? Maybe it would have worked out, maybe it wouldn't. What would you do? Seems like it's kind of like Until Dawn, where each of your choices affects people and how people survive in the group. But anyway, don't forget to check out my Instagram and TikTok at Echoes from the Basement for behind the scene sneak peeks at every episode. And thanks for listening, all you truth seekers, abductees, and X-Files enthusiasts. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show. And remember, the truth is out there. You just have to find it.